Welcome to Talking Grit, a Detroit Lions podcast. Talking Grit is brought to you by the Monroe County Reporters, Monroe's top news source for police, fire, and community events.
Depot Street, truck boy at
Follow them on Facebook, and for $2.99 a month, you can become a subscriber and get the news you crave even faster.
Welcome, everybody, back to another episode of Talking Grit. I'm Jason Harwood, and with me is Jacob Litton. We are going to preview the Week 16 matchup between the Lions and the Bears. Lions won the previous match on Thanksgiving. After that game, the Bears fired their coach, Matt Eberflus. He's still holding on to that timeout, Jacob. I haven't heard if he's used it yet, but he still has it there. It's still in his back pocket.
He'll be thinking about that timeout for the rest of his life.
He will. We will have Harrison Graham. He's the host of the Chicago Bears Now. He's going to be on later. He's going to talk to us about the Lions, and he's also got, he wants to know a little bit about our coordinators. So there's some Lions coordinator talk in there. We also managed to get some Bears talk in this interview. We'll have that on a little bit later. But before we get going, before we get talking about this matchup, let's talk about playoff scenarios. Jacob, we're in the playoffs, right? What's your mood on what we're going to do for these last three games?
I mean, we talked about at the beginning of the season, we just got to make it to the playoffs, right? We just got to get our foot in the door. We're built for the playoffs. Well, now things have changed where we desperately need to get that first round bye. We need the 1 seed. It's still, the ball's in our court, right? We still hold our own destiny. We're the ones doing it. So we just have to win, right? And I mean, these are all winnable games. I think that we're going to be able to do it.
I think so too. I think that we're going to win all three. That we're going to win the 3 out. So as long as we don't incur, knock on wood here, no more injuries on the injury front. So the two teams that, that in this scenario that we're going to talk about that we're primarily focused on are the Vikings and the Eagles. That we can win the NFC North and, that we can possibly be the number 1 seed in the NFC. Currently, the Lions are both. We're the NFC North leader due to tiebreakers, and due to tiebreakers with the Eagles, we are the number 1 in the NFC. So if we win out, there's nothing that either team could do to top us. So we will be the number 1 seed in the NFC if we win out. The Vikings play at the Seahawks, then they have the Packers, and then at Detroit. So the Vikings schedule in the last 3, they're playing 3 playoff teams, with Seahawks possible playoff teams, but definitely 3 playoff ready teams. The Eagles, however, they're playing just 1 playoff team in the rest here. They got at Commanders, which that could be a tough one going into Washington. Then they have the Cowboys at home and the Giants at home. So Eagles have decidedly easier schedule than the Vikings, so we'll see. But I'd love some cushion and for them to get a loss. What are you thinking out of that with the Vikings, Jacob? We'll start there. At Seahawks, Packers at Detroit.
I mean, it's tough to win football games at Seattle and at Detroit. Those are going to be, 2 tough games for the Vikings. Obviously, we hope that they lose the first 2. If they lose the Seahawks and the Packers and we win the next 2, then, the Week 18 matchup wouldn't matter. But, those are going to be tough games for them to win. Obviously, it's going to suck for us to have to root for the Packers. I don't ever like doing that, but we are going to have to root for the Packers to beat the Vikings here. Mm-hmm. And, with the Eagles, yes, the Commanders are going to be a tough game. The Cowboys potentially could be a tough game for them. The Cowboys, have been playing decent football, I guess you could say. They hung in there against the Bengals. They won last week. The Giants is the one that's almost a gimme game for the Eagles, and that one's last. So, we're going to have to hardcore root for these other teams here.
I'd like to have a little bit of cushion with the NFC, both the North and the NFC number 1 seed. Like you said, to get in the bye is going to be really important to give our guys a week rest. That way, it gives Anzalone another week to heal up and be ready. Let's just break down some of the scenarios here. Like I said, if the Lions win out, it doesn't matter what the other teams do. We get the we're the number one seed, we'll get the first week bye in the playoffs, and then we'll also win the NFC North. So if the Lions lose either one of the next two games, so either against the Bears or the 49ers, and the Vikings win at least one, or the other scenario is the Vikings win both and we win both, the NFC North will be on the line in Week 18. So that matchup in Detroit, that's going to be a highly anticipated matchup. If the Vikings lose one of the next two and we win the next two, it does not matter due to tiebreakers what happens in Week 18. So if the Vikings lose to Seattle or the Packers and then we just win Bears and 49ers, it doesn't matter what the Vikings and Lions do in that last week as far as the NFC North. We may still need to win that game to win the NFC to get the number one seed. But as far as the NFC North, due to tiebreakers, because we'll have the edge in the conference schedule if the Vikings lose and we win the next two. And then we'll be tied head to head, so that won't even matter. The Lions, basically, to get the number one seed, as long as we win the North, we just have to equal what the Eagles do. So if the Eagles go 2-1, we just need to go 2-1. Obviously, if we go 3-0, we're number one seed, but we just need to equal whatever the Eagles do. If the Eagles go 3-0, we need to go 3-0 to keep that number one seed.
We have one game on them technically in the conference record tiebreaker, right? So I mean, potentially, if we both win the next two, this last game against the Vikings, could we potentially lose that game and still get the one seed if they beat the Giants?
We have to beat the Eagles because the Eagles were tied. We got the same record right now. So if the Eagles would pass us if we go 2-1 and they go 3-0. So if we equal their record, that we got the tiebreaker because of the conference record. So
it would be overall record. We would have an extra loss. Yeah.
So you could have a chance where the last game doesn't mean anything for the NFC North, but it could mean something for the number one seed. We could have the NFC North locked up in basically 2 weeks if the Vikings lose one of two and we win two. But then if the Eagles win the next two, then we have to win that last game. Assuming because the Eagles are going to play the Giants. So, like you said, that's the gimme game. So we're going to have to beat the Eagles or the Vikings.
But let's say we'll hope that the Eagles lose to the Commanders here, and then that gives us that week of cushion. Because ideally, what would happen is we would already have the North locked down. We'd have the one seed locked down, and the last game against the Vikings can almost be like a preseason where, the majority of our starters maybe play the first half. You don't have to play the whole game. The intensity doesn't have to be as high. That would be best case scenario. Then you go into the bye week.
Yep. Yeah. Best case scenario.
You don't want to have to play another game, especially, if it doesn't turn out our way and then we don't get the bye.
Yeah, the best case scenario is the Lions win the next two, and the Eagles and Vikings just drop one of the next. Each of them drop one game each, and then that, then we'd win. Now you might see out there that the Packers have a chance to win the division, and they technically do, but it requires both the Vikings and the Lions to lose the next two games and then tie the last week. So that's the only way the Packers would have to win out. So. It's very low. That's why you're going to see less than 1% chance. Not going to happen. All right. Honestly, if it came down to it, I'd let the Vikings win over the Packers winning that division if it was up to me. So that's how the playoff scenario breaks down. Probably Detroit has a really good written article on it if you want to look through it and just be able to, as opposed to listening to it, be able to read it. It'll tell you exactly. And there's other scenarios in there too regarding different situations. But that's, basically the gist of what we need to be rooting for now. And when we get closer to week 18, we can start looking at potential matchups and say we don't get the number one seed. Who do we play in the first round and all that stuff. But as of right now, we're going to win out and all of it's going to become moot. We'll get first round bye.
That's the goal.
All right. It is. All right. So the upcoming week, we are playing the Bears. They still have not won. They were at one point 4-2. They are now 4-10. So they've lost 8 straight. Obviously, they're 4th in the NFC North. Since they played the Lions in week 13, they lost the 49ers pretty bad, and then lost to the Vikings on Monday night. The score is 12-30. At some point, it was closer than that, but the Bears just kept shooting themselves in the foot like they normally do. All right. Why don't you tell us what the injury report said for the Bears, Jacob?
All right. Injury report for the Bears. It's not looking good for their offensive line right now. Their offensive line, Ryan Bates, did not practice. Concussion protocol. Braxton Jones, the other offensive lineman, concussion protocol. Offensive lineman Tevin Jenkins actually showed up on the injury report with a calf injury. Jervon Dexter, senior defensive lineman, knee injury, did not practice. Rashawn Johnson, running back, he's in concussion protocol but got in a full practice. Darrell Taylor, defensive lineman, got in a full practice as well. Nobody can touch us with these injuries, so it feels kind of silly going over their injuries and see what they're dealing with, because they're just, no one in the league is touching even close to the injuries that we have. Why don't you go down the list of the Lions injury report, not including the IR people?
Yeah, so the Lions injury report today looked scary because there's a lot of people on there, but what's good thing is that a lot of them just were on rest. So you have Taylor Decker, did not practice. He's on rest. You had Frank Ragnow. They gave him a rest. DJ Reader, a rest. Zadarius Smith, a rest. Amon-Ra St. Brown, rest. Talk about his flu game. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Reading about that. So, yeah, he's probably still recovering from the flu. Didn't tell anybody, the Lions, that he had the flu until after the game. And only the training staff knew because they gave him IVs and stuff like that. But, yeah, he had a Michael Jordan-esque flu game. Yeah.
He threw up for the first time in his life.
Yeah. College kid. He was in college at one time. You can't tell me he didn't throw up. All right. Kevin Zeitler, rest, no practice. Brian Branch did not practice today with a calf injury. So hopefully he can get back in. And Dave Montgomery obviously did not practice with a knee injury. Still getting like a third opinion. We don't know. They have not put him on IR yet. He's obviously not going to play. Likely not until playoffs, if at all, this season. Trevor Nowaski got into full practice, was on concussion protocol, started that in the middle of the week last week. Still don't know when he got that concussion, but full practice. And like Jacob and I were talking before this, like I never thought I'd be so happy to see Trevor Nowaski full practice. We desperately need some linebacker help. And if he's back on the practice field, got a full practice in today. So Dan Campbell seemed to think there was going to be a long shot for him to play this weekend, but depending on the injury situation, he might find himself on the active roster.
Can't wait to get Iffy back.
Yeah.
Desperately need him.
Yeah, we need some bodies back, that's for sure. And I want his pass rush. He showed some stuff last year, so we could definitely need that.
Real quick, I just want to go over this.
Yeah.
I just have a graphic here because I don't know if you saw, there was an argument on Twitter between Lions and Vikings fans because some of the Vikings fans said that they've had to deal with an extensive list of injuries also and that they've overcome it. And, they've been playing better than the Lions as of late and this and that. This is on Twitter or on X. This is Tyler Webb that compiled this list, but it's the number of players on injured reserve, the PUP list, or just out for each NFL team. And it's not surprising to us, but the Lions have 22 players right now that are out due to injury. And that's combining like IR, just people that are out. The next highest team is the Browns with 18. But the Vikings, who said that they've been going through and battling their share of injuries, have 5 players. Packers, 5 players.
Yep.
The Bills only have 3 players on their roster that have been on IR or out.
Yeah.
So the Bills are the lowest and the Lions are the highest.
Yep.
And, we had a high-scoring, really close game. Maybe that makes people feel a little bit better about that. We've been dealing with a lot of injuries, and we're still competing. We're still there. We're not getting ran over by anybody.
No. Did you listen to the audio of the Dan Campbell on 97.1?
I actually had the joy of listening to that live. I dropped my kids off at school and heard that on the radio.
That's awesome.
I was ready to run through a brick wall right then. Like, let's do this now.
Yeah, he was saying that for the fan base as much as he was saying that for his team. It felt like let's just get on board. We're going to keep going through. We're going to keep trucking. And he's I mean, he was fired up. Like, we got punched in the mouth and we're getting ready to punch back. And this is going to be our first time opportunity to punch back this weekend. And yeah, I would not want to be the Bears this weekend. I really feel like there's going to be we're going to be ready to play.
There's just something about Dan Campbell, man. His ability to just rally the troops and just get you going. Like, you see the pregame speeches and the postgame speeches, even everything. Just everything that he says, 100% genuine and just, awesome.
Yeah, it doesn't come off calculated. Like some of his stuff, like it never comes off like calculated.
No, it seems from the heart. Like,
Yeah, just this way I feel like he even let the F-bomb fly twice in 97-1. So yeah, to be quick on the button. It really irked me. Like I saw an article like Dan Campbell goes on profanity laced tirade or whatever, and I'm like, no,
that's the clickbait.
No, it is, and it's just so annoying. And some people believe that. That's why he gets that titles like that you get like the meathead moniker or whatever, because people want to believe that stuff. No, if you listen to that, like you said, you're ready to run through a brick wall. He's speaking the truth. He's speaking from the heart. If your guy, like he said in there, yeah, it sucks we got all these injuries, but you know what that is? That provides an opportunity for someone that wouldn't normally have an opportunity. And if you're one of those guys, Zeke Turner and if you're one of those guys that are getting their chance to play, yeah, you're going to be giving it your all, because this is your tryout for next year, right? I mean, if the Lions get all their players back, you're probably not going to be back starting for the Lions. This is your chance to make another roster, or at worst be back on our practice squad.
I feel a little bit differently about that also. So just with where the team is standing, that's a perfect example right now for the Bears, because some of these guys that are playing for the Bears, let's say they're in a situation where, hey, you may not be here next year. You may be. The season's already washed. Right now is a chance for you to go out there as an individual, put something out on tape, show us what you've got. I think that we're in the opposite situation where it's like we've already built something special. The people that we're bringing in, you're about to be a part of this. Now's your chance to be a part of something greater than yourself. Now's, you're being a piece of the puzzle. We're trying to take this thing to the top. We aren't slowing down. I don't think that you're necessarily, if you're Quan Alexander, you're Jamal Adams, you're not worried about next year. You're not, we brought you here right now. Show us what you got. I forget the exact quote, but Dan Campbell said, we're going to have the best 11 out there. We're here to win. You're going to be a part of the team. You got to do your job. That's what we brought you to here, to do. If you're Ezekiel Turner, I know that's who you use as an example too. Yes, you may be worried about your job next year, but you have a chance right now to be a part of something bigger. You play your ass off and you're potentially going to be playing in a Super Bowl. At the beginning of the year, I don't think Zeke Turner thought that was possible. I'm sure right. Quan Alexander was already writing that off, these opportunities like this don't come up. You got to lose yourself, Jason.
Yeah. I got to wipe off mom's spaghetti. It's on my sweater.
That's just how I feel, though.
No, you're exactly right. I mean, it is about that, but also it is a business, and these guys got to look out for themselves for next year, and they got to take this opportunity for what it is. You play your butt off for this team, but also if I do at the end of the tunnel, maybe I am playing in the Super Bowl, and if you get the Super Bowl, you get the Super Bowl bump, because then you're Super Bowl champion. Even though if you're third or fourth string, you're Super Bowl champion, right?
No matter. You add that to the Wikipedia page.
Yep, exactly. And then you get your ring. Those guys can look. You got Jamal Adams or whatever, Quan Alexander. They've been in the league for a long time. Yeah, they're playing for this year. Zeke Turner, he wasn't on anybody's radar, and now he's come out. Last game was not his best game. The Packers game he played pretty darn well in. So he's just got to keep putting it out there. Real quickly, before we get to the interview, we'll go over the Bears rankings. We've already done this before. Nothing much has changed. 22nd overall PFF grade. The offense is 24th. They're 25th in points scored, 32nd in yards per game, 31st in passing, 21st in rushing. Their defense, while PFF has them rated 12th, you'll hear Harrison give out some stats about how terribly they've been since week 7. So these stats are pretty, we'll let Harrison speak to that. But yards per game, 24th, passing defense, 14th. probably a lot of that's Jalen Johnson. He locked down Justin Jefferson pretty well. So, whoever he's on, it's going to be tough. But also, Jared Goff is better than Caleb Williams, so he'll be able to get the ball in there. And their rushing defense is 26th, which seems about right based on how the first half went the last time we played them. And for some reason, we didn't play it in the second half. And I have a feeling when we get to our keys to victory, you and I might have something to say about that. All right. Before further ado, we're going to hit the interview here with Harrison Graham. I hope you guys enjoy it. We enjoyed having him on, and we'll see you on the flip side. We want to welcome Harrison Graham from the Chicago Bears now. He is part of the Chat Sports Network. He is joining us, going to get us ready for this rematch this season or this week for the Bears. So, how you doing, Harrison? Thanks for joining us.
I'm good. The Bears, not so much, but happy to be here. I know we tried to make it work last time, but little rematch here. And the Lions are they're in a little bit of shambles too for different reasons with all the injuries. So it'll be interesting to see. They should be fine this week, but how it kind of goes the rest of the way for Detroit.
Yeah, it's a weird, our team is 12-2, but you would not know it, Harrison, by the mood of the fans around. It's doom and gloom around here with the last set of injuries. I don't know what about these last set of injuries that put them over the edge. Maybe that coupled with the loss.
You kind of feel bad because it's like Lions fans have waited their whole lives for a team like this, and their offense is going to give them a chance. It just feels like it's going to be tough to win 2, 3, 4 playoff games with Jamal Adams, and I saw they signed some guy off the Jags practice squad the other day. It's all work for Aaron Glenn, but listen, they found a way to win most of these games, so we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, that's what we're hoping too. The offense could contend with anybody, so that's the saving grace on that.
I think it's a problem with a lot of Lions fans, though. I was just going to say, I think it's a problem with a lot of Lions fans is that they've always had that kind of in the holster, like what's going to go wrong, what's going to happen, something's going to happen, something's going to ruin this. It's going too well. And then, all the injuries are piling up. And then for that loss to happen with the injuries, that's when they're like, the sky's falling. This is it. I knew it. We're doomed.
And the Bears are the new Lions now, where at least the Lions are good now. They've had this crazy injury thing, but the Bears are now you just assume every decision they make as an organization is going to be the wrong one. So it's funny how that goes full circle. Oh, one of these days it'll be the Packers, but I don't think that's happening anytime soon.
Oh my God, we're both rooting for that, right, Harrison? Yeah. Oh my God, I can't wait. Maybe it started with that $55 million contract or a year contract with Jordan Love. Maybe that's.
We'll see. He's not Favre Rodgers, but he's pretty good too. I mean, he's if he's the third out of the 3, that's not bad.
No. It's, at least he can he seems to keep his mouth shut, so that's a good thing. The other ones have trouble doing that for sure.
Yeah, no question. He's more likable. I will concede that.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll see. I think Rodgers probably started out likable too, and then he gradually turned into whatever he is right now.
I don't remember a time liking him. Do you?
I never liked him, but I didn't hate his guts. He left the division, and I somehow hate him more now than I ever have.
Yeah, it's so true. I can't wait for him to retire and I hope he'll just move to South Africa or something, and we'll never see him again. But
right, that's what he said, right? When I retire, you won't hear from me anymore.
Yeah, he always says, I don't care what people think. No one, yada yada yada. He'll probably just be working for McAfee full time when he leaves the NFL. So
he'll take Clay Matthews' spot. Clay Matthews going to get kicked off, and then he's going to be the guy smiling on the side screen.
Exactly.
AJ Hawk.
AJ Hawk.
Your Packers linebackers mixed up.
Tomato.
Yeah, getting them all screwed up. Who cares? It's the Packers, right? None of us care. All right. So Harrison, we know that Matt Eberflus is fired since the last time we played you. What is different about this team in the last few weeks since we've seen you guys last?
They're somehow worse, which is hard to believe. you kind of reflect, and I don't want to really give Matt Eberflus credit for anything, but at least he had him competitive in some of these games. Now, I'm not going to come on here and bash Thomas Brown. This guy's gone from pass game coordinator to offensive coordinator to head coach in about a month. That's kind of an unreasonable task. There's interim coaches. I can't remember a time when a guy has gone from basically a not that involved assistant coach to the play caller to the head coach for a team who, by the way, is trying to develop a rookie quarterback. I think it's pretty crazy what we've witnessed here. But they completely laid an egg the first game in San Francisco. I will say this: the final score in Minnesota was 30-12, but I thought they were more competitive in that game. Their defense was flying around in the first half, at least. Their biggest problem all year, really, and it was true against Detroit too, the first time, is they just can't get going offensively in the first half of these games. I don't know what the reason is. I don't know if there's scripting sucks, if Caleb Williams is just needs a quarter or two to kind of figure out what these defenses are doing, which, that some of that's to be expected as a rookie, but they just cannot get out of the gates with any momentum. Now, last week, they actually moved the ball a couple times in the first half, got stuffed on a couple 4th and 1. So it was actually a little better in terms of moving the ball, but they're the second lowest first half scoring team in the NFL behind the Giants, who are now with Tim Boyle at quarterback, who I think we're all familiar with.
Right.
It's long story short. The problem they've had all year is slow starts offensively. And something that's actually pretty interesting is coming into this year, most people viewed this Bears team of, regardless of what happens with the offense, at worst, this should be a top 10 defense. Since week 7, in a bunch of advanced defensive categories, ESPN's Courtney Cronin had a tweet about this. They're 30th to 32nd in 10 categories. So not only are they not a good defense, they're one of the worst defenses in the league over the last 2 months. And ironically, since they gave up the Hail Mary. So the theme of this season has kind of been that Hail Mary just destroyed the season. I mean, it's truly incredible. If they win that game, they're 5-2 and feeling great about themselves, a 4-game winning streak, which would be their longest win streak in, I think, since the 2018 season when they won 12 games. But that they've just fallen off a cliff since then. You guys saw one of the many Matt Eberflus late game collapses. There were several of those. And we were saying it before we hit record here. I don't think there's a team in the NFL that needs the offseason to get here faster than the Bears. I mean, I know there's some other teams who are kind of tanking, the Giants, the Raiders, whatever, but this team is just so out of it. It's kind of remarkable to see how it's played out.
We've been there, man. I feel you. I can see the pain in your eyes. I feel you.
I feel like generally, it seemed like the Bears had a team that was going to be able to compete more than, put out a better product than they have. And, the beginning of the season, like most of your losses were only by one possession. It was close, and then you had the Hail Mary. They, stripped you away from a win there. And then, you already said that's kind of when it went downhill. Then they started losing by more. They make the change of offensive coordinator, and it's just got uglier and uglier.
I mean, they have the blocked field goal against Green Bay, who they haven't beaten in 6 years. At least should have had a field goal attempt against Detroit. Couldn't figure that out. Took Minnesota to overtime the first time. Defense couldn't get a stop. I mean, there's just been some crazy losses. And then sandwiched in between all those, there's just been some kind of no-shows. They didn't show up the week after Hail Mary loss. They just did not show up in Arizona, where players after the game were like, yeah, Hail Mary is still impacting us. It's like, guys, you gotta get off the mat here. They lost at home to the Patriots, where they only scored 3 points. It's when they fired Shane Waldron. Then they went on that 3-game stretch against the division where they had a chance at all of them, lost all of those. Then they fire Eberflus, and now they've gotten blown out a couple of times. So, yeah, I mean, they're one play away from 5-2, and 2 months later they're 4-10. So it's pretty incredible.
All right, let's ask you about your assessment of Caleb Williams. What's your thoughts on him so far this season, and what you expect in the future from him?
I'm still optimistic about his future. He's probably been a little more erratic with his accuracy than I would have expected. I do think at this point in the season, a couple of things stand out. One, I don't think he trusts the protection. I mean, they had to put a rookie left tackle out there last week, last minute, because their starting left tackle, Braxton Jones, self-reported concussion symptoms the day before a game. I've never heard a guy practicing all week and then the day of travel, all of a sudden he goes into the protocol. So that was tough. And if you guys watched on Monday night, he just had no business being out there. Karan Amagaji is the kid's name. So that's been an issue. They've had interior offensive line issues all season. But there's no doubt he's missed some throws. He's turned down some guys that have been open and chosen not to pull the trigger for whatever reason. It's really been up and down. I mean, his good games have been really good. I thought the second half against Detroit was a really good half. He played really well. The first time they played in Minnesota against a Brian Flores defense that historically confuses rookie quarterbacks, he threw for 340 and a couple touchdowns. So I think his highs have been really impressive, and I would say the most impressive among the rookies, but his lows have probably been the lowest. So it's kind of been all over the map. I think the coaching and just organizational chaos has been just too much to overcome for a rookie. So, long-winded way of saying optimistic about his future, probably a little more erratic and all over the map than I would have expected. But I don't think it's one of these situations where it's like, oh God, the kid can't play, because he clearly can. It's just, they got to get this coaching hire right. So we'll see how that goes, obviously. But the last couple of weeks since Thomas Brown has had to go from just focusing on Caleb and the offense to the whole team, the offense hasn't been as crisp. I don't think the play calling's been as good. So we'll see if they can right the ship a little bit down the stretch. I'll say this, with how beat up Detroit is, I mean, they should be able to score some points here on Sunday. So maybe an opportunity, even though it's a game they'll probably lose, to at least get something going offensively this week.
Yeah, I mean, do you feel like they dropped the ball by not making a coaching change before they drafted Caleb Williams and starting this season with a fresh head coach?
Yeah, absolutely. I said it at the time. I mean, I don't know if you would have gotten them. I don't get a lot of scoops. I'm not in the scoop game, if you will, but every once in a while I'll get told something by someone I trust. And I was told that Harbaugh was interested in this job. Now, maybe he would have just leveraged it and gone to the Chargers anyway. Who knows? But we had seen enough red flags from game management situations for Matt Eberflus last year. I mean, the game in Detroit last year where they just collapsed in the last 4 minutes was a good example where I thought it was worth the swing. Fire Eberflus, you're changing quarterbacks. If they had decided to keep Justin Fields and didn't want to change too much, okay, that's one thing. But the second they decided to change quarterbacks, I just thought realigning him with the new head coach was the logical thing to do. They didn't do it. And, even if you wouldn't have gotten Harbaugh, maybe get someone else. Maybe Johnson's willing to take this job. He wasn't willing to take Washington. I don't know. But I don't think Matt Eberflus had shown enough to not take that swing. I think that was a mistake. I said it at the time. It was clear throughout the season, because the minute you brought him back, you had to nail the offensive coordinator hire, and it was a train wreck with Shane Waldron. So, yeah, to answer that, it's clearly it was a mistake, and hopefully they get it right here, because you've wasted the whole point of drafting a rookie quarterback is to reset that contract clock. And you've just wasted this season of that because you're a non-competitive football team. So critical offseason ahead, no question.
So, I mean, that leads into, sorry, I was just going to
say a follow-up. I was going to say follow-up was, do you think that this set Caleb Williams back at all? Like, do you think that maybe he'll get in some bad habits because of, offensive design or
It's hard to say. I think he's talented and mentally strong enough to overcome this. I mean, he's said all the right things this year. I know people have made memes about him kind of stretching out on the sideline on Monday after he got absolutely whacked, and some national media members want to take that out of context. But he's actually been really good in terms of like handling this at the podium and stuff like that. I think that stuff matters, being a franchise quarterback. But yeah, you never know. And it's hard to trust the Bears, right? Like they have not done a good job of developing quarterbacks. So I think he's more talented than the guys they've had in the past. I think he's shown more this year, despite the ups and downs, than some of the other guys have in the past, especially as rookies. So I'm still optimistic about his future, but you're kind of just kind of sitting there hoping you get lucky with the right coach, because they have not had a track record since they fired Lovie Smith, who went 10-6, by the way, the year they fired him. They're 0 for 4. I mean, they have not. Matt Nagy's by far the best coach they hired, and he was a joke by the end. So, yeah, I mean, it really comes down to getting the right coach. But I do think if you get the right coach, and might be the guy calling plays for you guys, maybe that works. But yeah, it's hard to say either way, because history would tell us that they probably won't get this right, which is unfortunate to say. But I tell Bears fans all the time, Detroit's a great example, because eventually logic would say you do kind of just, maybe it's luck, maybe just picking Dan Campbell was just luck, and you get the right guy. So, you got to keep taking swings if you're these teams, and you got to keep the faith as a fan. But this fan base is pretty beat up, like I'm sure Lions fans were for a very long time.
Oh, yeah, for sure. That just leads us to the next question that we had for you, though, is who's on your short list for head coach next year? And would you also replace Ryan Poles, or is he safe?
I'll get the polls in a second. I put out an updated top 5 today. I still have Ben Johnson number 1. I actually have a question for you guys about him here in a second. I'll circle back to that. I've got Vrabel 2. He kind of feels like the safe choice. I think there might be a ceiling there. I don't love the idea of going defense, but he's done the job before. AFC Championship game with Ryan Tannehill as his quarterback. So I think he would bring instant credibility, which this franchise could certainly use. Joe Brady's my third guy, the Bills OC, obviously working with Josh Allen. Does he just mask some of any potential weaknesses Brady has? That's certainly possible. I like Liam Cohen, the Bucs OC, for a couple of reasons. One, Baker Mayfield played under Lincoln Riley as well, so similar background in terms of college offense and play style. And he's gotten him to play at a very high level this year. He was with McVay for a year in LA. He's called plays at the college and now the NFL level, so he's had some different experiences. And then actually, I know I just said I don't love the idea of going defense. I've got Brian Flores 5 because he's just kind of a no-nonsense guy. He kind of reminds me of Dan Campbell a little bit. He's just kind of this is a guy you'd want to have your back in an alley fight or something like that. Like he's no BS, and which means the Bears probably won't consider him because they like just kind of hiring nice guys. But that's my top 5. I was going to ask you guys about Ben Johnson. The one question that seems to be kind of circulating among Bears fans is like, we know he's got this creative offense. We know he's elevated Jared Goff, all this stuff. Do you guys think he has the command the entire locker room type of personality? Like, do you guys think he's capable of doing that? Because we just don't really see him front and center as much there. But obviously, when you have Dan Campbell, it's kind of like you don't really expect to either. But people seem to think Aaron Glenn for sure checks that box. But with Johnson, it seems to be more of a question mark. Like, is he just this fun, analytical offensive guy, or can he command an entire team? What do you guys know in that regard?
I think based on his press conferences, I'd have faith in him being a head coach. I think that I think he's learned a lot being under Dan Campbell about the leadership portion of how to galvanize a team.
Right.
I agree with your assessment that I think Aaron Glenn is more of that leader
raw guy.
Right, like he's closer to Dan Campbell than Ben Johnson, I would think, in that matter of getting people behind him. He's also, Aaron Glenn's got the former player in him that,
Sure.
garners respect from the players just because he played it at a very high level. I don't want Ben Johnson to leave, so I'm not going to say,
Of
great
course.
things about him. But I, if I were going to pick out of the two for a head coach, I'd probably pick Aaron Glenn. If I was
Okay.
going to pick out of the two, however, Ben Johnson, I think he's going to be able to do a good job, and he's been with Dan Campbell for a very long time. I mean, it is not just why he was OC. He had time with him when he was in Miami, so they've known each other for a very long time. Ben Johnson's a holdover from the Matt Patricia era.
Yeah.
Just happened to have a history with Dan Campbell, and now he's grown, seen how it's done. He in his press conferences, Ben Johnson does command attention and seems like a very good leader. He doesn't just seem like a funny guy or that people like him or whatever. I really respect how he talks in the press conferences. A lot of the Lions coaches talk like similar to them, just like they have a very good command of the room. I think people will respect him. But anytime you get a first year coach in there, man, you screw up early on. That's it's hard, to get everyone behind you.
Well, and Chicago is just one of those places where like things can just spiral quickly. It's just like it's such a passionate fan base. They're starving for winning. Like, you start first year 1-3 or something. I mean, the pressure ramps up quick. So yeah, I mean, I actually respect for how selective he's being. It's like, I'll just call plays here until I get a situation I like. So yeah, I'll be curious if he jumps in this year because honestly, like, I think roster QB wise, the Bears are a good job, but organizational wise, yes, Ryan Poles. I don't know if he's going to be here. I don't know if he should be here, to be honest. And then you've got this Kevin Warren situation where no one seems to know exactly how much power he has, how much power he should have. Ownership is a joke. So, I think Ben, I would guess, looks at this team like, yeah, like I can have success. I know this division, but what is the power structure going to look like? So I think he's kind of gotten to the point where, like, if he interviews with the Bears, he'll be interviewing them just as much as they're interviewing him, I would think. Like,
Absolutely.
That would be my guess.
Yeah. I think, to be honest with you, I think it's a long shot for that Ben goes to Chicago just because of what you just said. The ownership.
Yeah.
Ben I think that's what threw him out in the Commander's job. I know that he came back for unfinished business, but he did have 2 interviews with the Commanders, but it was still, there's a new ownership group going in there. There's a lot of question marks. I think Ben's happy in Detroit with the situation. So like you said, he's going to be just super selective. It's either going to take something change, Dan Campbell were to leave or something like that, or, we win the title. At some point, he might just say, I'm ready for another challenge. So it's going to be a perfect. I'm surprised the Chargers job last year seemed like a pretty good opportunity for him.
Did he bail on that, or did they just go with Harbaugh?
I think Harbaugh was probably who they wanted.
I know Vrabel was like the one job he was kind of like willing to jump back in right away. I think he was the other guy, but they went with Harbaugh. Couldn't remember if Johnson was in the mix there. You think he regrets not going to Washington? I mean, they've been pretty solid.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think he's pretty happy. Word, yeah, no, I don't. I mean, probably looking at getting Jaden Daniels and what he's turned out to be. I mean, yeah, you'd like to be at the helm with that, but yeah, I'm pretty sure he's pretty happy where he's at. I tell you, I don't want Vrabel to be your coach. I don't want that.
Really? So that scares you guys?
It's scary just for me personally because I know that's going to be a dogfight every year. Those games. Yeah, sure. I mean, say what you want with the Titans, but they played hard, and
no doubt.
And if you get I mean, we know that with Dan Campbell, you get people, you get your team all pulling the same direction. It's really, you can win with lesser players with that way, and then Vrabel may have, like you said, like the lower ceiling, but he's going to get his team ready, and he's going to want to beat the Packers really bad if he gets in this division. So that'd be good for you guys. It'd be good for us to knock down the Packers, but I don't want to play you. You guys always play us tough, anyways. I don't want to play with Vrabel as your coach.
Yeah, I think Vrabel, like I said, he feels like the safest hire just because, like, at minimum, it's going to be a well-run team. And they have not even had that for a while, which is, it's a low bar, but he knows what he's doing. He's done it before. He's done it in a small market place that, you know, had Ryan Tannehill as his quarterback. So, yeah, I mean, I just feel like Johnson, you know, if you could get him in a hypothetical situation, I think he has the best chance to give you the highest ceiling with this quarterback. But I think you could make a strong argument that the organization would benefit the most, especially in the near term, from a guy like Vrabel. Just like, he's done it before. He's a hard ass. He's not going to be messing around. So yeah, I kind of go back and forth on it, but he would definitely be very, very high on my list.
Yeah, I think he's your safer bet of of anyone that's out there. But like you said, you just need a step. You need to get a step in the right direction, and I think that he could definitely provide that for you.
Yeah.
What do you think, Jacob?
Yeah, I mean, just to speak on the whole Ben Johnson versus Aaron Glenn thing, I just think that the reasoning behind that, Aaron Glenn is obviously much more vocal in general, but Ben Johnson has had a top 5 offense every year since he's became the coordinator. So he hasn't really had to handle too much adversity or too many difficult media questions or, things where you would have to hear about, decisions that he made or this or that. I kind of agree with what Jason said. Vrabel is a safer pick for you guys. I think I would rather you have Vrabel than to steal Ben Johnson away. But, I think Vrabel's got to be really high on the Bears list.
Do you guys think Glenn or Johnson is like, who do you guys think is more likely to get a job? I mean, I think Ben has a job if he wants one. I think that's pretty clear at this point. It's just a matter of if the right one is out there. I know that the Saints have been linked to Glenn a lot. I think
and the Jets. And the Jets.
I think Glenn's more likely to leave.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think if you're Aaron Glenn too, just being a defensive guy, like if you get an offer, you got to go. Like you can't be as selective as Ben Johnson. I mean, as long as Detroit's offense is good, he's going to be in the mix every year or so.
I think that, Ben Johnson's going to be super selective where I'm not saying that Aaron Glenn's not, but the two jobs that are currently open, the Jets and the Saints, he's both has history with, both those franchises. So if he's on their list, I would see him wanting to take that. He just seems like he's ready for a head coach job. And the Lions, frankly, have defensive coordinator Kevin Shepard's going to come in, and I feel pretty confident from our linebackers coach to be a defensive coordinator. So, I mean, it's not that I don't want Aaron Glenn gone, but I feel organizationally Lions will be able to handle that.
I was looking into some of the assistants on Detroit's coaching staff. It seems like the Tanner Engstrand guy is kind of on the Ben Johnson track, like just like position coach. Now he's the pass game coordinator. Do you think he would just get promoted if Johnson got a job? Like, is he the natural, or would they go like Randall L or Brunell, or would they go outside the organization? Should see
Scotty Montgomery, the running backs coach.
Is he?
I think he's going to get. I think it's between him and Tanner. I think Scotty's already interviewed for another offensive coordinator. I think he might have interviewed for the Bucs head coordinator job. Tanner did too. I think he was at the Patriots offensive coordinator under Mayo. But either one of those guys, but Scotty Montgomery's also going to be a head coach someday. I'm convinced of that. He's just the way he speaks, the way he's ready. He's got some steps to take. An offensive coordinator would be that. That's one thing that the Lions have done really well is that they've groomed these next guys up, and I think Dan Campbell's a great leader, and he's just you're gonna lose. If you win, you're gonna lose your coordinators. That's just the way it is in the NFL, and you got to be ready to have. Dan Campbell's going to want to have his guy in that next position as opposed to an outside hire. Is that what you know?
Yeah. I was going to say, I was just looking through, and I know we haven't talked about the game much. Sorry if I've derailed the direction of this conversation, but I was just looking at the Lions staff the other day, and I'm just like, God, like Randall L's on the staff. That's awesome. I totally forgot Brunell was the quarterback's coach. Then I look into this Engstrand guy. I'm like, this guy feels like the next Ben Johnson. I'm just like, this is the freaking Lions. Like, I think that has given me some hope of like, okay, Detroit I'm 31 years old. The Lions have been a joke my entire life. So like if they have gotten to this point, and it only took a couple of years. I mean, it's the power of the head coach. I mean, the Chargers, Jim Harbaugh goes in there, he takes an average roster. They're not going to win a Super Bowl or anything, but they're going to make the playoffs, and this is easily going to be the worst roster he ever has. Like, they're not going anywhere. So I'm just praying that the Bears can get the right coach because, I think in football more than any other sport, like the coach is so impactful. Like you just have to get the right guy. So it's pretty cool that Detroit's got that now. And they, like you said, they've got a nucleus of guys. Like it just seems like they'll just promote guys. They lose their coordinator. So that's a play from a position of strength.
Yeah, I think one thing where teams get in trouble, and this may surprise you with, because we've Ben Johnson or whatever, but I think everyone wants like this next, like, oh, he's a good offensive coordinator, he'll lead this team. That's not necessarily the truth. Whereas Dan Campbell, I don't know if he'd ever be an offensive defensive coordinator, but he gets the whole group to go in the same direction, and he gets the right people in the right position. And he just has to be the right leader. But, Dan Campbell also gets a bad rap that he's a meathead. The guy is really, really, really smart. I mean, he's knows football really well. Like if you listen to all the press conferences, he is super intelligent. He gets a bad rap because of as far as like the meathead thing, because of the opening press conference, and people want to play that soundbite over and over. But yeah, he is, as Jared Goff has said, he's the best leader he's ever been around, and that's what you need. You need someone at the top that can just get the best out of everybody.
Yeah, no question.
All right, so let's actually talk a little bit about this upcoming game here. So, what, like for you personally, going in this week, you've already kind of said that you don't expect the Bears to win, but what are you looking to see out of this game from your Bears team?
The only thing I care about the final three games is just, can you get Caleb Williams pointing in a positive direction going into the offseason? Now, how much does it matter? I don't know, but you'd like to kind of refine some of that stretch he had before these last two games. Again, with Detroit beat up, I mean, even though they're a long shot to win this game, they should have opportunities to score. So find a way to get off to a better start. I think the Bears have to do a better job of just generating easy completions early. Like, that's what all the good play callers do. It's like, get your quarterback 4 to 6 completions over the first couple of drives that are just layups. I mean, like quick little slants, screens, whatever it is. Ben Johnson, I watch them. They run more screens, I feel like, than any team in the league. And, it helps when you have Jahmyr Gibbs and the best line in football. But I think Thomas Brown's going to find a way to generate some more easy completions. And then we've seen it as the game goes on, he seems to gain confidence and let it rip more. So it's really just about getting off to a better start. So hopefully he can find a way to do that here. It sounds dumb. I don't really care what the defense does the rest of the way. I mean, they're on an interim play caller. I know a lot of these, they have good individual talent, but I think the scheme is probably going to shift dramatically there. So I'm not that concerned. I would imagine Detroit puts up well in the 30s this week. So I'm not that concerned about that. I mean, obviously you're looking at young guys like first, second, third year players, make some strides here down the stretch. But to me, the focus is about quarterback. How can you put him in the right direction? Now, you're not going to have Braxton Jones again, I don't think. He's in the concussion protocol. Their left guard, Tevin Jenkins, either their first or second best lineman when he's healthy. He popped up on the injury report today with a calf. If he can't go, your entire left side is down. Your center play has been below average most of the season. You've been on your backup right guard all year because Nate Davis was just a train wreck of a signing. They had to cut him. And Darnell Wright's actually been pretty solid at right tackle. But if Jenkins can't go, and that's going to make it even tougher, even against a Lions team that's pretty decimated. So we'll see if they can come up with a game plan that can generate some easy offense early. But to me, get some momentum for Caleb down the stretch here and keep him healthy too. I mean, he got absolutely crushed a couple times last week, mostly due to the left tackle just not getting out of his stance when the ball is snapped. So, yeah, that's a concern for sure. So I'll be curious to see how Aaron Glenn attacks it. I mean, I know he's been kind of blitz heavy recently because when you're so decimated, you kind of just have to take chances. But I would imagine if that left side is backups, Detroit's going to be looking to attack that area of the Bears offensive line.
All right. So final question that we have for you, just overall, what is a prediction that you have for this game? So it doesn't have to be the final score or anything like that, but if you just had to predict something that's going to happen in the game, what do you got?
How about this? I will predict that I don't know what the over-under is currently. I think the over will hit significantly because I think you guys will actually be surprised. I think the Lions will have a field day offensively. It's the defense is just, again, they played a little better last week, but Darnold was also just kind of all over the place. If Goff is on, it's going to be a problem. So I think you could be looking at like a 38-41-20 type of game. I think 60 points in this game is on the table. I do think the Bears will score some points here just because Detroit that decimated. I just think it's reasonable to expect. But yeah, I could see this being one of those like entertaining first halves. Maybe the Bears finally get something going, but then just over the course of 60 minutes, the Lions just, stretch it out and win by 2 or 3 touchdowns. That would be my guess.
All right. We'd
Harrison,
be okay with that.
Yeah, we'll take that, especially after last
week. I've actually in the division, I've been rooting for you guys. They're a fun team. I mean, there's nothing to dislike about Detroit. I mean, there really isn't. I mean, I'm not the hugest Kirby Joseph guy, but I'd like to have him on my team. So he's kind of in that category of player. But I was bummed about Montgomery. Bears fans still really like him. That was a bummer. But I really like Gibbs. I've always been a Goff guy. I thought he got kind of a raw deal in LA. So they seem like a likable bunch. Campbell's easy to root for. So I hope they can find a way to rally here because I've never seen a team this decimated, especially on the one side of the ball. I mean, they have like 2 starters left. I mean, it's Branch and Campbell, right?
Terry and Arnold's still in there. So DJ Reader didn't start off the year. So we probably have like 4, but
some key backups have been out too.
Oh,
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Are any of those guys? I know Hutchinson is still holding out hope for the Super Bowl, but are any of those guys coming back?
Anzalone, who broke his wrist or forearm area, he'll be back for the playoffs.
That's I mean,
that's going to be huge because but everybody else, Kaminsky, who was one of our linemen that got hurt in training camp, there was hope, but Dan Campbell basically shot that down today, said that he doesn't think he's going to be able to make it back. Hutch has said he could be back for the Super Bowl. That's like cutting it so close.
It feels like T.O. back in the day where he played on a broken leg, basically. Yeah. But hey, I mean, if he can go out there and give you 20 snaps or something, obviously you got to get there first.
Be unreal.
Right.
Yeah, be quite the story. But rooting for you guys. I like this Lions team, so see how it shakes out down the stretch.
Yeah, that's good. Well, we're not the Packers, right? So we can
the rest of the North can agree on one thing: we're all sick of the Packers.
Yeah,
I mean, I mean, can you be luckier as a fan base to go from Favre to Rodgers to Love? I mean, I'm not saying Love's a superstar, but like, you put him anywhere else, he's not this.
Yeah,
he's not. So it's crazy. But
I know. All right, Harrison, thank you for joining us. Why don't you, before you take off here, tell the listeners where they can catch up with your stuff.
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, NFL, about the Bears, NFL all the time. Bears Now by Chat Sports on YouTube. You can find us over there as well. So that's where you can find me, and appreciate anybody who comes and checks our stuff out. But you guys keep on going, and it's gonna be an interesting few weeks. Minnesota, a Week 18 game. I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. I think depending on how things go here, we could get flexed to Sunday night.
I would think so. Yeah.
'cause
Unless
that could be
there's a game to determine a playoff spot, right? Like to see if someone gets in or not. I don't know.
If the Vikings win both games and then we win both games, that's going to be for the North. So, and it could be possibly for the number one seed too. So, I mean,
that's huge.
Yeah, it's huge. My boys don't want to go on a Sunday night, so I'm going to have this fight on my hand. So, all right, Harrison, you thanks again for joining us, and you have a good night.
All right, take care, fellas.
All right, Jacob. I think Harrison wants to jump ship and leave the Bears and come to the Lions Nation. What do you think?
I don't know about that. I'll have to ask him next time.
Yeah, we will.
It's nice for him to, have positive things to say.
Yes. Yep.
And we both have a common enemy in the Packers.
Yes. Your enemy is my enemy. That's for sure. It will always be that way. Although I want to beat the Bears this weekend pretty bad. So they're in
I always want to beat
right
the Bears, but
Yep. It goes Packers, Bears, Vikings for me. Although this year Vikings always seem to get lucky, and I'm tired of them getting lucky. So they need to get vanquished too. All right, Jacob, let's get into it. Keys to victory. I'm going to let you start off here. What do you got?
All right, first one just on the defensive side of the ball is just, don't allow this Bears team to use the Bills blueprint and create those mismatches with the linebackers and the running backs. Don't let that happen again, which I don't believe they're going to, but that's definitely got to be a key to victory is just don't let that same thing happen. And, we can't allow Caleb Williams to escape the pocket and create more time. Caleb Williams is not Josh Allen. He's not going to be able to do it as effectively as Josh Allen did. I don't expect that type of game at all. But, I mean, that's how you create more time, and that's how you create more space, especially with a depleted defense. So I'm sure the Bears saw what the Bills did, and they want to sprinkle in some of that in their game plan and try to use that to their advantage. And we've got to be able to stop it. We got to be more prepared for that.
I agree. So this one's common sense, but we have not generated turnovers lately. Our defense has not gotten any turnovers. So Caleb Williams has not thrown a pick in the last 8 games. I'd love to see him throw a pick here, but fumble, something. We need to gain a possession. And get our defense off the field, get our injured part of the team off the field, give them some breaks. So generating some turnovers, we have to do that.
I mean, we've got the secondary, right? I know Carlton Davis is out, but, you've got Terrion. Kirby still leads the league in interceptions. Brian Branch, we have playmakers on defense. So, absolutely, we should still be able to create turnovers. And they're, just as likely to be able to punch the ball out as they are to be able to jump in front of a pass and get an interception.
Yep.
We have to rely on them more. They, need them to step up even more than they have before in the past.
I agree.
The next one I have is just kind of, the offense just has to keep performing overall, right? We kind of have to outscore these teams. The Bears average 19 points a game. They are not on the Bills level. We're not going to play another team. The 49ers average 22 points. The Vikings average 26. Our offense just has to do what we do and keep performing. Is it going to be harder without Montgomery? Absolutely. We have to just, we have to let Gibbs eat, right? You got to just loosen the leash. You have to let him go off. We have a weapon back there. I know we want to manage him smart, but we've got to utilize him more. So I think that's going to be a key, especially this first game without Montgomery, is let Gibbs eat like he did the first half of the last game. We can't limit his carries in the second half and limit his touches. We got to get the ball in his hands.
Yeah. How do you think the running back room is going to go? Do you think, it was generally 50-50 Gibbs and Monty, and now that Monty's out, what do you think is going to happen here with carries?
I'll say it's like a 80-20 split. Gibbs gets 80, and then I think that you probably sprinkle those other carries between Craig Reynolds. Maybe Vaki gets some. I know Scotty Montgomery said that Jamar Jefferson is probably going to be playing. So,
yep.
And he's shifty back there too. I mean, he's able to break some off. So
Mm-hmm.
We just don't. I guess you could use Craig Reynolds in these short yardage situations, but we don't have that running back anymore. Montgomery was the one we wanted on 4th and 1, 4th and 2.
Mm-hmm.
He's the one that's going to refuse to go down. He's going to run you over. He's going to keep chugging. Gibbs can run between the tackles. He's just not as effective as Montgomery was.
Yep.
So I guess, right now, if we're in a 4th and 1 situation, would you want Gibbs out there or would you want Craig Reynolds?
Yeah.
I think you still put Gibbs, right? I mean,
I think they'll still go with Gibbs. I mean, he also gives you something in the passing game too, if you want to run a screen or if you want to do something else. I think that you're going to just stick with that. But Craig has shown he could do it. I mean, I think Craig would probably be more in the power game than I think that than more the elusive game.
mm-hmm.
I still think Gibbs might be more powerful. It's just hard because Montgomery will give you the second effort that I think that Gibbs kind of lacks. The ability to break tackles as much. Gibbs is more of a make you miss type guy. I mean, he will take on contact, but just in those short yardage gains, I have more faith in Monty than probably Gibbs in that. But this may be a great learning opportunity for Gibbs, get in these situations and find out how to do it. And learn how to do it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so running the ball is going to be a huge key in this game. We need to lean on that. That'll keep the defense off the field. I want to lead in time of possession by a large amount. That would be the best way to go. And I think we need to do what we've been doing is score first and put the pressure on the Bears. Just do what we did last time on them. Get up on them. Make them be uncomfortable and, do what we need to do.
Definitely. That's the blueprint.
And I will tell you that we need to watch DJ Moore. That guy, they will give that guy the ball in so many situations. I'm not too worried about him going deep because Caleb's pretty poor at throwing it deep, but a lot of DJ Moore's catches are close to the line of scrimmage. And with our linebackers being beat up, we got to be ready to be out there and take, because he's elusive and he's hard to bring down. They will even run with DJ Moore. So we just have to, be aware of that and have eyes on him at all times.
Definitely. I mean, when DJ Moore is at his best, he is a weapon. I also feel like he may have already checked out this season. Seems like he's kind of going through the motions. He had a couple drops the last game against us, just doesn't seem like the intensity is there for him anymore.
He's probably discouraged, just like a lot of the Bears teams. So that's another reason to get up on them early and just have that team check out.
Take their will away.
Yep. This goes without saying, but just convert in the red zone. The Bears will do enough to shoot themselves in the foot. Holding penalty. We saw it last week on Monday night. They get down and, at one point they scored and they had called it back for the holding penalty. We just need the Lions to convert in the red zone and just let the Bears be the Bears, and I think they'll be fine.
Yeah, I mean, on paper, this matchup, this is something, even with our, injuries that we have on defense, this is a game that we should win. And we, after last week, we definitely need this win here. We can't afford to lose this one.
No.
Of the next two that we have, this was the one on the list that you can't afford to lose.
Yeah, no, we got this one. The weather this weekend as of right now, the forecast looks nice. It's supposed to snow pretty much up until Sunday, but Sunday is like 29 and partly sunny. So I think that'll be if it's like that, I'll be super happy. Especially if it's not windy.
Right. I mean, this was the last outside game that we really had to worry about because the 49ers game, you don't have to worry about it being bitter cold or snowing there.
No. Just a lot of rain. Remember that Rams game? Yeah, it was a lot. But the only other stat that I have, and Jacob, I'll let you speak if there's some that you got. But the Bears, they get a lot of pressure. They've had the best in the league since week 7, but their sack rate conversion is like second lowest. The way Goff's been moving around the pocket, as good as our offensive line is, I'm not worried about that. I think that we'll be able to, as long as Goff takes care of the ball, and he's been very good at that this season, we should be fine.
Just got to get in the rhythm early, and, we'll be fine.
Yep. All right,
let the game
Jacob.
script go the way we want it to.
Yeah, and just stay on top of it. Get up and then just keep the pressure on. And yeah, we talked about it after the Bills game. There's not many offenses that are going to be able to keep up with the Lions, and the Bears are certainly not one that could keep up with the Lions if the Lions offense is playing up to where they're capable at.
Right. It's just now we're late in the season where we can't afford one of those games where the offense just sputters and only scores 14 points. We can't do that.
Yeah. I just think that, this team usually rebounds really well after a loss. And I know that the fan base, and if you're one of those people that are just doom and gloom and are out of it, the grass is green, my friend. Don't feel that way. We've had some injuries, and yeah, it's going to make the road to the Super Bowl tougher. But we were all doom and gloom after Hutch, and we end up playing really well. I'm telling you, getting Anzalone back is going to be a huge coup for this team when he comes back for the playoffs. It's going to make a huge difference on this defense. So we do have that to look forward to.
And his injury is an arm injury. It's always different when they're recovering from a leg injury and you have to worry about how long it's going to take them to get back up to speed. And, if they're going to have lost a step or how long that's going to take. Anzalone's going to slot right back in like he did before.
Mm-hmm. And Anzalone's just a smart player. He's going to be ready to go. I mean, he's probably been playing each of these games mentally along with the team. I know he was there on the sidelines this past weekend. So he's, I think the week before he sat in the box with Hutch. I mean, he's still around the team. He's still he says he's not in every meeting. He's got a lot of the rehab stuff and just trying to get his body ready. But, he's there with the team. Yeah, we'll be ready. He'll be ready.
I do have one more stat just to go over real quick. I don't know if you saw this. So after last week's game, Jared Goff passed Bobby Lane for second most passing yards in Lions franchise history. So he passed him. He has 15,710 yards. Before I tell you the number, do you think there's any chance that Goff catches Stafford?
Let's see. He's 30,000 behind him. So what's that? 30,000. Let's say he averages 4,000. I mean, that's 7 full seasons. I mean, yes, there's a chance that he could do it because that would put him in like mid to late 30s. I would not
He's
say
30 right now, so
yeah, so 38. Yeah, I would not, because I mean then you're also count that he doesn't get injured ever or whatever. I think it's doable for sure. Is it probable? I don't know about that because he's going to have to stay on the team and everything like that. So I think the record's safe with Stafford. But if Goff does break it, then that's good for the Lions because that means they're probably playing pretty well and they kept him on.
Right, for sure.
Yeah. What about you? Do you think he's going to do it?
Oh, it would be nice if he did, just because, like you said, then we're going to be having success and he's going to be here for a long time.
Yep.
But if I was betting, is he going to catch Stafford? I would say no.
Yeah, I agree. But, 17 game season, possible 18 game season at some point.
Right, that's true.
All right, Jacob, let's get to grit picks here.
Grit picks.
I want you to read them off this time.
You want me to read them off? All right.
Yeah.
So it's kind of boring one here, but Rams 49ers, both pick Rams. Rams won. Packers at Seahawks. Jacob had to pick the Packers, and Mr. Superstitious, that's probably why they won. I picked the Seahawks. Unfortunately, the Packers won, so you gained a game on me. Bears at Vikings. Both of us picked the Vikings. Falcons at Raiders. Both of us picked the Falcons. Falcons won. So you gained a game on me. You got a pretty impressive 32-12 record. I am at 27-17. So 5 games.
Ouch.
Not looking good for me to catch up to you this year. So we'll see. First year luck for you.
Okay. This is also your first year, so what do you?
I know.
What's that say about you?
Right. Yeah, I'm terrible. All right, week 16. Thursday Night Football, Broncos at Chargers. Who do you got, Jacob?
This is going to be probably a really good game. Both these teams are fighting for a playoff spot. The Chargers are favored by 3 right now. They're at home. I would rather see the Chargers win, but the Broncos are hot right now, and I think the Broncos are going to win this game.
Going Broncos. I'm going to go with Chargers. I think that defense is going to be good, and maybe give Bo Nix some problems. But man, Bo Nix is turning out to be something over there for the Broncos. I don't know if it lasts throughout the years, but yeah, he's definitely been the best quarterback that they've taken in the draft in a long time. They keep drafting first round quarterbacks, and he's the first one to actually do something. So
yeah, right.
It's good.
Nice surprise for them.
Yeah. Bucks at Cowboys. This will be an interesting one here too. I'm going with the Bucks in this one. Although the Cowboys have been playing better, so I could see the Cowboys winning this one, but the Bucks are fighting for that division. They gotta stay ahead of the Falcons. So I'm going with the Bucks on this one.
Yeah, the Bucks are favored by 4 points away, at the Cowboys, but they're holding on the NFC South lead. They desperately need it. The Cowboys are kind of just fighting for pride at this point. They're not playing bad football, so it's definitely has potential to be a good game. The Cowboys, probably going to make this one close, but I also have the Buccaneers winning it.
All right. Saints at Packers, Monday Night Football.
Yeah, so there's no reverse psychology or any kind of angle for me to take in this one. The Packers are favored by 14.5 points. That's probably pretty accurate. I think this one's probably going to get ugly, and I think the Packers are going to win and probably cover that spread.
Yeah, I'm going with the Packers as well, unfortunately. Cannot believe they didn't.
Still holding out hope.
Can't believe they didn't flex this game out. Maybe they could only flex so many games, but Saints at Packers, Saints don't deserve to be on Monday night.
Yeah.
Not at this point. So
no.
All right, we'll see how it goes. So tied except for the Broncos Chargers. So Thursday night game. And I think out of all three of those games, they had that Broncos at Chargers game. I wish that wasn't Thursday night. I wish that was Sunday night. They had a full week
right.
of practice.
Exactly. Be a better, even better game.
It would be. But yeah, I'll be definitely tuning into that one tomorrow night. All right, Jacob, grit guarantee time.
It's time for the grit guarantee.
We might have the same guarantee. I don't know. We'll see.
We might. Yeah, I'm thinking that we do, but go ahead.
My guarantee for this week, I'm going to say that Jahmyr Gibbs goes for plus 150 total yards.
Ooh, 150 total yards. Okay. I'm right with you. I had Gibbs runs for over 120 yards.
Okay. So you've got just rushing for over 120. I say combine 150.
Total yards over 150. Okay. When you made a comment about Gibbs earlier, and I was like, I know he's picking this in his grit guarantee. So yeah, that's fine. I like that we don't discuss this ahead of time, and then it's funny that how close we are on some of this stuff. Hopefully, it's a good field to run on. There's not any snow on there or whatever. I think. We'll be good.
Right.
Before we get out of here, Michael Penix Jr. is going to be the starting quarterback for the Falcons. How much did the Falcons screw up this offseason?
Yeah, right. I mean, you would have thought it'd be impossible for them to get worse, but I mean, they won the last game. They're fighting for a playoff spot. They're fighting for the division, and now you're going to bench the quarterback that you just signed in the offseason and gave all this money guaranteed.
Yeah.
The only way they come out of this good is if Michael Penix absolutely destroys and is just an amazing quarterback over these next few weeks. And even then, you still would say that they botched this Kirk Cousins signing, and then now they're stuck having to trade him and then take on the dead money.
Yeah, so it's like, oh, I got the rookie quarterback contract, but now I got all this dead money for another quarterback. So it's like you basically offset having the rookie quarterback. I don't know. I mean, I don't know the timeline of the event of when they fell in love with Michael Penix Jr. And if they really fell in love with him, kudos for them for drafting him. But man, sign Kirk Cousins. And so like if they just cut him, it's like a $70-some million cap hit. Like if they were to cut Kirk Cousins this offseason. If they trade him, it's like somehow they can get like $27.5 million. And I do see the Falcons might take less for Kirk Cousins just to get some of that cap money off there. They might not require a huge draft. Not that Kirk Cousins is going to get you a huge draft, but you might settle for a third or fourth rounder just if another team's going to take on that contract. Or you could have like a
I was just gonna say
Russell Wilson situation where you cut him and then a team gets to sign him for pennies next year, and then you got a really cheap starting quarterback. And if that happens, would it be weird if Kirk Cousins went back to the Vikings for like pennies next year? And
impossible. That'd be hilarious, though.
It would be, and then Cousins gets, has a good year, and then he can sign a big contract the following year. So, you could see a situation where he's like, well, I'm already familiar with this team. They don't know, JJ's still there, obviously, but he's coming off a knee injury, and he needed some seasoning anyway. So, you could see a situation where if Kirk Cousins is like real cheap, the Vikings might entertain that. I don't want to see him back in the division, but it is what it is.
He's not playing very well, so I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. But when you could throw it up to Justin Jefferson, you can start looking a lot better.
Well, maybe the Falcons should have used their draft pick for somebody that could have helped the team right now instead of trying to draft another quarterback.
Yeah, someone's got some splaining to do for sure. Crazy, but you're right. It's a weird time to switch it because I know Kirk Cousins has not played the greatest, but it's not like he's terrible, and you're literally one game out of the playoff spot because you beat the Bucs twice, so you have the tiebreaker on them. So all you have to do is equal their record. It's just interesting that they've decided at this point to go with Penix.
Right. Like, what did you see different? Like, was Penix killing it in practice? Was it just, the way that Kirk was managing the game where you were just like, enough is enough? Like, I just don't understand what could have happened to make you want to make it right now.
Yeah. Well, Kirk wasn't causing problems, I can't imagine Kirk Cousins causing problems in the team or anything like that. So It's not like that situation. But yeah.
7th in yards, 12th in touchdowns. I mean, his passer rating is not very high. His overall grade on Pro Football Focus is towards the bottom, but
I don't know.
If you think this rookie's got it, that's also, how bad does that make you look if you're the Falcons? You put Penix out there and he's not ready, and now you just blow the season and you blew your chance at the playoffs.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. It's just the timing and everything's weird, but
glad it's not us.
Yeah, exactly. We don't have to think about that. So I want to thank Harrison for joining us. Jacob, your kids JJ had some stuff today. You came right on, ready to contribute on the show. So I thank you for doing that. I know it's been a busy week for both of us. So, next week will be Christmas and be another crazy week for both of us, I'm sure. But so
Jason accused me of using my pretty privilege instead of getting prepared. Like I'm just going to show up and wing it.
I know. Yeah. The people that listen to the audio version don't, they can't. You're pretty privileged.
They can't tell.
Yeah, I have.
If you guys like to hop over to YouTube, you can see.
Yeah, exactly. We post stuff over there. You can see how pretty Jacob is and whatever I am.
And then it only takes one look at Jason before you decide you're going to go back to listen to the podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my God, face for radio.
I'm just kidding.
Yeah. All right, Jacob. Had a good time.
Always.
Yep. Right. I had my socks on Sunday, by the way. I know we lost, but I did wear my socks. I almost joked with you and told you I forgot them just to see.
I didn't want to ask because if you told me no, then we couldn't be friends anymore.
Oh, we're friends? Okay. Well, anyways. All right.
I'm thinking about getting rid of my black jersey, though.
Oh, get what?
I'm thinking about getting rid of my black jersey, though. I was wearing that during that loss.
Oh, yeah.
I've only worn it a few times this year, and I think it was both the losses and then I think maybe 2 or 3 other games where we won.
Yeah.
I'm a superstitious person, man.
I know you are. So I'll if you have a bonfire in the back, I know what's going on. You're burning the jersey for the loss. So. All right. I'm Jason. He's Jacob. Let's go, Lions.